Felix Juan Trinidad Garcia was born on January 10, 1973, popularly known as Tito Trinidad. He is a Puerto Rican former professional boxer who competed from 1990 to 2008. He held multiple world championships in 3 weight classes and is considered to be one of the greatest Puerto Rican boxers of all time. After winning 5 national amateur championships in Puerto Rico, Trinidad debuted as a professional when he was 17, and won his first world championship by defeating Maurice Blocker to win the IBF welterweight title in 1993, a title he would hold for almost 7 years with 15 defenses. As his career continued, he defeated Oscar De La Hoya to win the WBC and lineal welterweight titles in 1999, Fernando Vargas to win the unified WBA and IBF light middleweight titles in 2000, and William Joppy for the WBA middleweight title in 2001. Trinidad's first professional loss was against Bernard Hopkins later in 2001, and following this, he retired from boxing for the first time. Trinidad made his ring return by defeating Ricardo Mayorga in 2004. After a losing effort against Winky Wright in 2005, he retired for a second time. In 2008 he returned once more and lost to Roy Jones Jr. Subsequently, Trinidad entered a hiatus without clarifying the status of his career. Trinidad is frequently mentioned among the best Puerto Rican boxers of all time by sports journalists and analysts, along with Juan Laporte, Esteban de Jesus, Wilfredo Vasquez, Miguel Cotto, Wilfred Benitez, Wilfredo Gomez, Hector Camacho, Edwin Rosario and Carlos Ortiz. In 2000, Trinidad was voted Fighter of the Year by the Ring magazine and the Boxing Writers Association of America. He is ranked number 30 on the Ring's list of 100 greatest punchers of all time, and in 2002 named him the 51st greatest fighter of the past 80 years. In 2013, Trinidad became eligible and was voted into the 2014 class of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He was officially inducted into the hall during a ceremony held on June 4, 2014, becoming the 10th Puerto Rican to receive such an honor. Trinidad was champion in the International Boxing Federation, in the World Boxing Association, and the World Boxing Council. He had an impressive record with 42 wins and 3 losses, with 35 by knockout. His career as an athlete in this discipline began at 12 years of age, as he has won 5 awards at the amateur championships in his home country: 100, 112, 119, 126, and 132 pounds. His amateur sheet was a record of 51-6. Felix Juan Trinidad Garcia stands at 5 feet 11 inches, 180 centimeters, tall. Felix Trinidad boasts an estimated net worth of about $30 million. About Felix Trinidad personal life. Felix Trinidad was born in Fajardo, Puerto Rico, to a Puerto Rican family. During his childhood the family moved to Cupi Alto, a subdivision of San Juan, Puerto Rico, where he grew up. His future wife, Sharon Santiago, lived in Cupi and first met Trinidad in the home of her neighborhood friend, a classmate of Trinidad's. Trinidad pursued a relationship with Santiago, including an attempt to impress her with his red Ford Mustang. He continued to press for her affection and, with the help of Santiago's neighbor, Trinidad was able to win her over. Early on, Santiago's mother thought that Trinidad was related to her daughter's friend, but she realized the true situation when she visited the friend's house and he acted nervous in her presence. Santiago's father objected to the relationship because Trinidad was an athlete. At the time many athletes had a negative public image. Santiago became rebellious, but Trinidad eventually won her family's trust. The couple was married 4 years after they began dating and have had 4 daughters. Trinidad has a 5th daughter, named Alondra Nicole, from another relationship. Felix Tito Trinidad, the legendary Puerto Rican professional boxer, has not only left an indelible mark in the boxing world but also made a positive impact through philanthropy. Let's delve into the philanthropic efforts of Felix Trinidad and his wife, Sharon Santiago. Sharon shares her husband's passion for giving back to the community. Together, they actively contribute to various charitable causes in Puerto Rico and beyond, focusing on healthcare, education, and supporting underprivileged children. Throughout Felix Trinidad's illustrious boxing career, Sharon Santiago has been ringside, providing unwavering support and encouragement. Felix Trinidad, known as the Golden Boy, had a remarkable journey from humble beginnings to becoming a boxing legend. His inspiring biography resonates with many, both inside and outside the ring. About Felix Trinidad professional career. Trinidad debuted as a professional on March 10, 1990, when he was 17 years old. The fight was against Angel Romero, another debuting boxer, in a contest that Trinidad won by knockout in the second round. At the beginning of his career, he knocked out 9 of his first 10 opponents. He then competed against more experienced boxers like Jake Rodriguez, whom he fought on December 6, 1991. Trinidad won the fight by unanimous decision but suffered an injury on his right hand. He was then inactive for 5 months while recovering from the injury. Raul Gonzalez fought Felix Trinidad on May 3, 1992, in Cayey, Puerto Rico. This fight was the main event of the night. Both Gonzalez and Trinidad weighed in at 142 pounds. Gonzalez had a record of 8-2-3 with 5 KOs, while Trinidad had a record of 13-0 with 10 KOs. Gonzalez went down 3 times, and Trinidad took the victory in round 4 by TKO. Trinidad would add another victory by KO to his record and would now make it 14-0 with 11 KOs. Trinidad traveled to San Diego, California, and defeated the IBF welterweight champion Maurice Blocker in 2 rounds, in a fight card on June 19, 1993, televised by Showtime. Trinidad spent the first 2 minutes of the fight analyzing Blocker's style. With 11 seconds left in the first round, one of Trinidad's punches injured Blocker, who barely survived the round. In the second round, the champion's condition improved, but after the first 30 seconds, another Trinidad punch injured him. Trinidad followed with a combination, scoring a knockout at 149 in the round when the referee stopped the fight. Afterward, tournament organizer Don King's exclusive relationship to stage fights for the cable channel Showtime meant that Trinidad would be showcased regularly on Showtime Championship Boxing. Trinidad defended his title for the next 3 years against several opponents. Trinidad's first fight in Las Vegas was against Héctor Camacho on January 29, 1994. He was cautious during the first rounds and received a cut over his left eye. In the third round he connected a solid combination that made Camacho change to a defensive stance. Throughout the fight Trinidad was on the offensive and won the fight by unanimous decision, in what was his first decision since he won the World Championship. The scores awarded by the judges were 117-109, 116-110, and 119-106. In the spring of 1999 Don King and Oscar De La Hoya's promoter, Bob Arum, agreed to co-promote a megafight for the lineal, WBC and IBF welterweight championships on September 18, 1999, at the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas. Early in the fight De La Hoya employed boxing to connect combinations while avoiding Trinidad's attacks. The second round began with both boxers trading punches but De La Hoya quickly returned to his previous tactic, which he employed in the third round. In the fourth round Trinidad pressured the offense while De La Hoya tried to avoid his punches by moving. Both boxers eventually exchanged punches. In the fifth round Trinidad continued in the offensive while De La Hoya attempted to remain on the outside corners of the ring. Trinidad's eye was swollen following a trade of punches, and his nose was also bleeding. Trinidad was having a lot of problems finding De La Hoya and couldn't connect as flush as usual with his punches. Although he scored at times, Oscar's movement was not letting him land in combination and it was proclaimed by many to have been a lackluster fight. In the eighth round the swelling on Trinidad's eye was worsening. Oscar was scoring on Trinidad but halfway through the 10th, De La Hoya stopped sticking and basically disengaged under instruction of his corner who thought the match was won. De La Hoya was to remain on his toes for the remainder of the bout, and Trinidad won the final 2 rounds. The judges controversially gave Trinidad a close, majority decision, with scores of 115-113, 115-114 and 114-114. In 2000 Trinidad vacated the welterweight championships and moved to the junior middleweight division, in order to challenge the World Boxing Association's champion David Reed. Early in the fight Trinidad concentrated his punches on Reed's body, connecting hard punches to his ribs and belly. In the second round Reed connected a solid punch to his opponent's jaw, and in the third round scored a knockdown. In the fourth and fifth rounds Trinidad used his jab consistently, gaining control of the fight's tempo in the sixth round. The fight score was close at the beginning of the seventh round but Trinidad opened the second half of the contest in the offensive, scoring the fight's second knockdown. Controlling the fight in the 8th, 9th and 10th rounds, and opening a cut over Reed's eye. Trinidad dominated the 11th round, scoring 3 consecutive knockdowns. Reed tried to close the fight on the offensive but his opponent boxed and countered his attacks. The judges gave scores of 114-107, 114-106 and 115-106, all in favor of Trinidad. Following his fight with Vargas, Trinidad moved up in weight, this time to participate in Don King's middleweight unification tournament featuring IBF champion Bernard Hopkins, WBA champion William Joppy, and WBC champion Keith Holmes. Trinidad was matched with Joppy, whom he defeated by technical knockout in the 5th round of a contest that took place on May 12, 2001. Joppy opened the first round on the offensive, but late in the round Trinidad scored a knockdown with a combination of punches that came close to throwing Joppy underneath the ropes. Trinidad subsequently scored a knockdown in the 4th round. During this stage of the competition he was using combinations of left hooks and right punches to the head. In the 5th round Trinidad scored another knockdown. Joppy attempted to continue the fight, but while he was using the ropes to help him stand, the referee stopped the fight. When the contest was over, Trinidad explained his strategy by stating, "I knew he wanted to impose his will, his weight, and I wouldn't let him do it." The middleweight unification fight between Hopkins and Trinidad was originally scheduled for September 15, 2001, at the Madison Square Garden. On the morning of September 11, terrorists attacked the World Trade Center. Following this incident, the fight was postponed indefinitely. After receiving assurances from Madison Square Garden officials and the city of New York, Don King rescheduled the fight for September 29. The pace of the fight in the early rounds was slow, with each boxer studying his opponent. In the 2nd round Hopkins connected some combinations while Trinidad pursued the offensive in the 4th round and both boxers traded sequences of punches. This pattern continued in the 5th round with Trinidad showing an aggressive style while Hopkins relied on jabs. In the 6th Trinidad continued an offensive stance and won the round after trading several combinations. Both fighters continued to exchange punches in the 8th and 9th round with Hopkins connecting 3 consecutive solid punches. In the 12th round Hopkins scored a knockdown, but before the contest could continue Trinidad's father entered the ring, which led to the referee stopping the fight by technical knockout. Trinidad was subsequently scheduled to fight against Hasan Cherifi in a contest that he won by technical knockout in the 4th round. The event was part of a card that took place on May 11, 2002, and was organized in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Early in the 1st round Trinidad's strategy consisted of using his jab while Cherifi did not try to directly engage in the offensive. In the last minute of the round a punch by Trinidad hit Cherifi's chin leaving him disoriented. He followed this with a combination and scored a knockdown. In the 2nd round, Trinidad displayed more boxing and was on the offensive by using combinations to the head and ribs. In the 3rd Cherifi landed more punches than in the previous 2, but Trinidad relied on throwing left jabs. One of his punches hit Cherifi's liver, followed by a punch to the jaw, making Cherifi fall to the floor. In the 4th, a series of combinations injured Cherifi, who collapsed to the floor twice, forfeiting the fight on the 2nd occasion. Following this contest Trinidad announced his retirement, at the moment leaving the sport with a record of 41 wins, 1 defeat, and 34 wins by knockout. Trinidad announced a comeback on March 2, 2004. On October 2, 2004, he fought against Ricardo Mayorga in Madison Square Garden. Early in the 1st round Mayorga was on the offensive connecting several combinations. Later in the round Trinidad connected some punches to his opponent's face. Mayorga reacted defiantly while lowering his defense, which Trinidad used to continue the offensive during the closing seconds. In the 2nd round he continued connecting with combinations to Mayorga's face which caused him to bleed from his nose. The round concluded with both fighters exchanging punches. In the 3rd round Mayorga attempted to counter with punches to the body but did not do significant damage to his opponent. However, later in the round one of these punches made Trinidad lose his balance and touch the floor with one glove, which the referee counted as a knockdown. In the 4th round both boxers traded hard combinations. In the 5th Trinidad displayed control of the offense's tempo, injuring Mayorga and opening a cut under one of his eyes. This pattern continued in the 6th and 7th round, and the cut on Mayorga's face began to swell. In the 8th round Trinidad scored several knockdowns. Mayorga continued after 2 knockdowns, but lost by technical knockout following a 3rd knockdown. On May 14, 2005, Trinidad competed against Winky Wright, in a fight where the winner would become the World Boxing Council's #1 challenger in the middleweight division. Wright won the fight by decision, receiving scores of 120-107 and 119-108 twice by the judges. Trinidad's fighting style appeared to be out of rhythm in the 1st round, while Wright presented a defensive stance and relied on jabs. During the first 3 rounds Wright was in the offensive, scoring with jabs. On the 4th round Trinidad connected a solid combination. In the 6th, Wright continued the strategy used in the previous rounds while Trinidad employed a strategy where he tried to neutralize his opponent's punches by standing in front of him. In the later rounds, Trinidad tried to take the contest's offensive, but his adversary managed to block most of his punches while continuing his previous tactic. In the 12th round, Trinidad pursued right while trying to score a knockout, but his opponent boxed away from him until the round ended. Following this fight, Trinidad retired temporarily, after his father informed him that he would not continue in his corner. Trinidad came out of his second retirement for a fight against former 4-division champion Roy Jones Jr. on January 19, 2008. According to the contract, it was contested at a catchweight of 170 pounds (77 kilograms) and was broadcast live on HBO pay-per-view. The card took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Trinidad began the fight on the offensive and won the first 2 rounds. The third and fourth rounds were won by Jones, who relied on the velocity of his punches. This pattern continued in the 5th and 6th rounds. In the 7th round, Jones scored a knockdown following a right hand. Following this, Jones continued to use his speed while Trinidad pursued the offensive. In the 10th round, Jones scored a second knockdown after landing a combination. The judges declared the fight a unanimous decision in favor of Jones with scores of 117-109 and 116-110 twice. After this fight, Trinidad was inactive for almost 2 years, before announcing on October 14, 2009, that he was between 95 and 98% sure that he would not do anything more within boxing. During this time frame, he made sporadic public appearances, attending boxing cards and participating in public activities, including a ceremony where Juan Manuel Lopez and Ivan Calderon received rings for 5 successful defenses of their world championships. Beginning in July 2009, Trinidad became involved with the World Wrestling Council, participating as a guest referee at their anniversary show. 3 months later, he was included in a storyline that also included Orlando Colón. In 2010, Trinidad expressed interest in purchasing the Changos de Naranjito. On September 12, 2018, Judge Anthony Cuevas Ramos signed a letter which declared that the Banco Popular de Puerto Rico must pay Trinidad $2 million within 24 hours, due to them owing him interest money from his personal accounts at the bank. On February 13, 2023, the Trinidads reached a confidential agreement to solve their problems with their debtors, including Banco Popular de Puerto Rico, without going to court. That's all we have for you today. Please go ahead and give us a thumbs up, share to your friends, leave a comment, and do not forget to subscribe.